how did you develop your conviction in Tesla, right? So many of us have done our forecasts for the long-term prospects for electric vehicles, but it's probably the right time for us to do the exact same thing for Robotaxi and Tesla bots. And that's what we're going to do today. That's why I asked Jason DeBolt to join us and to share his story, because he was exactly in that same situation when he discovered Tesla many years ago when he was just 32 years old. He did a deep dive on the future of electric vehicles to the point that he actually wrote up a manifesto of sorts. And that's what allowed him to develop his deeper conviction and to then go all in. And fortunately for him, years later, he hit it big and allowed him to retire 2 years ago at just 39 years old. So we're going to look at that. And, today we're in the same situation right now. So Jason, once again, he's doing another deep dive, this time on Tesla bot. And he's been writing this, so he's starting to think it through, the potential and the logistics. And we're going to get lucky today too, because he's going to walk us through that. So welcome, Jason. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate this.
Thanks, Herbert. I'm super excited about this interview.
Thanks. Well, as always, please help us get brighter, Jason. Appreciate this. What I understand from what I've gathered from you is that you earned a degree in business economics at UCLA. You then worked at Google. You even went so far as teaching yourself software coding and tech skills. You worked at a couple of startups and then Amazon, and then that's when the timing was that you were able to retire. So what a fortunate situation we get to talk to you, but also a fortune that you made. So tell me quickly, how did that all come together, and why did you decide that you're going to write these documents? That's an amazing step that few of us have actually done ourselves.
Yeah, I think a lot of what eventually ends up in these documents was just in my head for a long time, actually, and I just wanted to put it all on paper and just review it and just make sure that I could just put it all on paper. Just so I could add to it, right? Because sometimes I would forget to, I just wanted to have like some kind of record of everything that was in my head, and just help build my conviction further, right? So having a document like this as kind of storing all of your research, I think is really valuable for investors, especially for investors that they don't really want to hold ETFs. They want to own a few stocks, right? Whether it be 2 or 3 stocks, one stock, or any number of stocks that they follow closely. They want to learn as much as they can about those companies. And so, and the reason why you do that is because when the stock gets cut in half, or it goes down by 60% or whatever, you want to be able to hold on to that stock and remember why you bought the stock. And that's really what it's about. I think doing your own research isn't just about which companies to own. It's about convincing yourself sufficiently that to the point where you're not going to be scared from holding that stock. You're not going to panic sell, right? That's one of the big takeaways from doing your own research.
Did you predict that Elon was going to buy Twitter? Was that part of your plan?
No, it was not. See, anything can happen, right? You never really know what's going to go down with Elon. But he does give lots of breadcrumbs, lots of clues to this. For a long time, he's been kind of hinting that he would do something with Twitter, that he would buy Twitter. But I couldn't have predicted it back when I wrote my thesis in 2015. But if you're following his account closely on Twitter and reading all of his tweets, kind of putting pieces together, then you might have been able to predict it a long time ago. And it's not just the things he tweets; it's also what he replies. The things he's replying on other people's tweets. Also, it's if you go to his likes section on Twitter, you can see how he thinks, right? That's really something to look at as well. If you follow him on Twitter, don't just look at his tweets. Look at this section where you can see what he likes. And
did you do that? You should actually, in your analysis, you should have the whole several chapters on just Elon.
It'd be cool to see. Elon is he's got so many interviews, so much activity on Twitter. People's interactions with them. They write about their interactions with him. There's a lot to study about this guy, and I think he has such a big impact on the world. And I think it's even if you're not an investor in Tesla or something, it's worth just kind of like paying attention to what he does, because it does
Yeah.
everything he does has a huge impact on society. And if that's not clear to you right now, it'll be clear in the next decade, right? So
It's very, very clear, but I'm
not
curious
not
because,
you, but just people in general, like
yeah.
yeah,
So today we heard the news that he was being toured by Tim Cook at Apple. What was your reaction to that? And it seems pretty big news. It seems like it's a big milestone. Something big might come out of this.
yeah. I think it's great news because those two guys and they allocate a ton of valuable capital, arguably the most valuable capital on Earth,
Uh,
which is two massive pools of incredibly talented engineers, both working at Apple and Tesla and all of other Elon's companies, and they can. Who knows what's going to happen? Maybe they won't cooperate to the extent that I think they will, but uh, at least they won't be seeing each other as enemies, right? And
yeah.
stepping on each other's toes and trying to compete over the same markets. I don't, there's a lot of things I think that it doesn't make sense for Elon to build a smartphone right now, the way smartphones are. It's just, there are too many apps. There's too much.
Yeah.
It's a mature market. It just does not make any sense. But it has, I'm glad they're working together because then it means they can both focus on what they're good at and they can
Mhm.
partnership wherever it makes sense. They can cut deals, revenue sharing deals, things like that. It's great for both. It's bullish for both companies, right? It means that they're not going to be duplicating efforts on the same things, and it's good. It's a good thing.
Yeah. I wonder, you're absolutely correct about the two powerhouses. And I'm very hopeful that they will actually not just resolve this particular scenario, but actually think about the future because I don't know. If I were Apple, I'd be very scared. Tesla
Yeah.
payments might somehow impact Apple Pay, right? Subscriptions. As Tesla gets into subscriptions, Tesla's going to need to create AR glasses. I've been saying because they need videos for the Tesla bot. There's a lot of potential. Either
Hmm.
they're going to fight it out, or they're going to find a way, like you said, to partner.
Yeah.
This I'm getting excited. So,
One more thing, it'll benefit Elon's companies in the short term working with
mm,
Apple. It'll benefit, I think, Elon more, but in the long term, their partnership will definitely benefit Apple in the long term
yeah,
because Apple's in a lot of very mature, kind of more mature industries, where they're phones are pretty mature, laptops, computer. These things are pretty mature, right? So they need to innovate more, and
yeah,
and I think it's better because Tesla is growing a lot faster, and over time, uh, you know, uh, they will at least have this partnership that they can take advantage of, and that'll be a new source of growth for Apple, I think, in the long term. But in the short term, it legitimizes everything Elon does, right, on Twitter and Tesla. I think it's great.
yeah.
I think Wall Street will be happy with it too. Not that I really care, but yeah,
I agree with you. So I'm very excited because I like the way you position it as short term and long term. But this could be something big if they do. So
yeah,
I want to get right into the two documents that you've created. I'm very fortunate. I'm so lucky that you're allowing me to share some of this information. But you created this initial document. It says here 2015, and you titled it
yeah,
"Your Car is Used Only 4% of the Time." So why don't we,
yeah.
as we go through this a little bit, just in general, tell me the story of how you discovered Tesla and what made you start thinking that it was worthy of your money and time. And once in a while we see a once in a generation company. I'm sure you thought Apple was, but it didn't sound like you invested in Apple and you went right into Tesla. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah, I completely missed out on the Apple's run and a lot of other a lot of FANG companies. I didn't. I was so focused on Tesla for this entire period from 2013 onward. I just didn't see anything else. Right. I was just like, this is insane how innovative this company is and how so many people just do not understand what's going on. Um, so that to me was opportunity. When I saw what other people didn't know that I knew,
Mm,
I had an information advantage, which I thought would give me a lot better returns in the long run.
mhm.
Whereas with these other companies, they're heavily covered. Everyone knows what they're up to, and I thought wouldn't have any kind of information advantage with these other companies, even if they had great financials and great growth. If they were hyped in the media and everyone's owning the stock, and I
Yeah.
just thought in the long run, I would rather invest in a company that people are underestimating a lot. And I think that's still true with Tesla today. I think people continue to underestimate it to an
Yeah.
absurd degree. And so, yeah.
All right. Well, let's walk through a little bit. This is an amazing document. I'm going to just go through. This is your table of contents that you wrote. So this was December 2015, and you are complete. More comprehensive than I've ever seen anyone do, even the analysts themselves. But it's like Elon's first principles. So you started off with kind of the philosophy, timeline for adoption of autonomous cars. So you put that up right to the top, right at the beginning, even at 2015. Cost of vehicle ownership, the case for autonomous cars, and then you cover that quite well. It looks like the case for autonomous cars. Wow, you even do parking garages, gas stations, bus stations. How many cars will be needed? Disrupted markets. Wow, this is brilliant. I love to go through this. Of course, we're not going to be able to go through all of this in detail, but let's go and highlight some of the key ones. Economics, and even you covered sensors. So high level, you did in 2015. We're now at 2022. Do you feel that this holds up, and how accurate was your assumptions at the time?
Yeah, I mean, there are some. I think a lot of this still hasn't happened yet, but we're getting close with FSD, and there will be a lot of disrupted industries as you see in the table of contents, and there's a lot of it. I think a lot of this, what's in this document, still is relevant today. And
Yeah.
but if you look at this timeline, we can actually see if this is actually has been proven to be accurate, because this was written, I mean, long time ago. So we can, maybe the viewers can look at this and judge for themselves. But this document I kind of wrote for myself. I didn't intend it to be shared with anybody. I wrote it for myself to build conviction. And I was thinking about publishing it as an ebook at some point, but I just got distracted with work and I couldn't finish it. But it was enough for me to build a massive amount of conviction and hold on from 2015 to 2019 and 20, and still hold today. Right? It's been a big part of my conviction. And I think the key takeaway here for anyone who's watching this video is like, writing a document like this on any stocks that you're heavily concentrated on is definitely a good idea, because again, it just helps you convince yourself that you're doing the right thing. And it's also good to revisit once in a while and check to see if things are going the way you want. Yeah.
Okay, this is great. So here in this table it says 2022, phase 3, 2019, 2022, the complete autonomous capability. Like you said, it's up to the viewer to decide if it's true or not. We are, I think I would say that FSD beta is way beyond what I had expected it to be today. You know what I mean? Like just that has changed alone. So for me, are we complete? No, of course not. Are we closer to it than we ever thought we'd be? Yes. And there's the March of Nines.
Oh yeah. Then the cost of vehicle ownership just below is interesting. I think a lot of people still don't understand that part, because there was a study done by, I guess, the Canadian, some, what was it, Canadian Drivers Association,
Automobile Association.
Automobile Association. They did a study on how much, what is the cost, the true cost of vehicle ownership. And people think it's just the price they pay for their car. And then you're like, oh yeah, gas, I pay for gas. Oh yeah, auto insurance. And then, oh, there's maintenance. Oh, there's repairs. There's insurance. There's, there's a lot of different costs. Tickets, parking tickets, private parking tickets, municipal parking tickets, speeding tickets. When you just add all these things together, it's really expensive, right? And interest on their car loans. There's a lot, right? So, and they found that it was the highest. It's for Canadians, it's their largest expense, even more than housing, apparently. And I think in America, it's number 2 in the U.S. But I was shocked to find that out. I was like, really, it's number 1? So that's the market that Tesla was going after. I was like, that's insane that Tesla is about to disrupt the market. That's literally, for a lot of people, it's their top 2 or 3 expenses, right? So, and that's something people don't really talk about as much as you'd think, right? This is, autonomous driving is going to save people a lot of money. It's going to dramatically lower the cost of transportation for a lot of people. And so that's really exciting. part of this document, I think.
Yeah. So the first thing is if it's a once in a generation company, is a company solving a problem that is one of the top issues that consumers or whoever the customer is
Yeah,
dealing with. And clearly cars and energy are,
yeah,
I have a feeling he's got his list, and of course he's probably using the measure of best for humanity, but at the end of the day it's actually probably also the largest industries to disrupt, you know.
yeah,
Okay, so then you go through the case for autonomous cars. Let's just very quickly review this what you're thinking here. But this is because this is it. We're heading in this decade, this kind of time frame. Autonomous cars. So reduce fatalities. Clearly, that's the number one reason. Yeah, this tell me a little bit more what your this setup here.
yeah. I mean, this document. I mean, honestly, it's pretty all over the place. I wrote this just kind of like I was just learning things and putting them in the document. But yeah,
Yeah.
talk about the social impact as well. It's going to change. Um,
Wow. Mm-hmm.
a lot of people, parents, for example, who have to shuttle their kids to school every day. They can just have a Robotaxi take them. If you just really just spend time thinking about how it's going to help people, it's going to have a massive social impact. Elderly people who can't drive, you know, these shouldn't be a surprise for anyone who's thought deeply about it, right?
I love that you did this.
Yeah,
It's because it's like you said, it's just nice to put it all in one place and keep adding to it as
yeah,
you come up with, or people realize it, because it is individually people go, yeah, that's interesting, but together as a whole, it is going to make a huge impact, and society is going to change. But I think for the better. Do you actually have somewhere in here like that you won't need as many parking lots, and maybe there'll be more
yeah. I
greenery
mentioned that
and
as well.
cities?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
found the size of the parking industry, or the parking garage industry, and I think it's like $2 billion a year business. And that's
I
just
love the
one industry that's going to be impacted. So, yeah, it's just it's basically it's a lot of this is just me just dumping my thoughts into this document, but some of it is
yeah.
just pulled from research from like investment banks and other financial institutions. Like that graph was a Morgan Stanley graph that you just showed,
Yeah.
and yeah, so
It's interesting because you're looking at it not only as an investment. It seems like a lot of things you're saying here is the goodness to society and the
yeah,
world, how the
that's
world's
a
going to
big part
change.
of it. Yeah, for me personally, that's important to me. It wasn't just the financial aspect, being able to make a lot of money on the stock, and that's why
Mm.
I had such, I think, higher conviction than a lot of investors have, is because I saw how important this company is to the future, right? Like it's gonna
Yeah.
dramatically lower the cost of transportation, increase safety, save 40,000 lives a year in the US alone. I think it's like 1 million lives a year if this were all over the world, right? If this technology were around the world, we would save 1 million people a year, right? Something like that. That's how many people die in traffic accidents a year. It's going to displace, oil industry completely, which is a, dark, dark industry, and there's a lot of wars that are fought over oil. There's just a huge impact to that Tesla's going to have, and I think that was really important for me. I got to the point where I was like, this company just has to succeed. Like it literally, this company has to survive and it has to succeed, or we're kind of screwed as a civilization. Like if we can't allow a company like this to succeed, there's so much corruption. I was just like, it just has to. I was very convinced that,
I think you should write
yeah,
a book because part of the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing right now, and I've mentioned it several times, is I feel like we're going through, momentous, we're watching history in the making, is what I say. And
right,
you are like collecting all of these things in one place to at least be recorded and explain to people that life wasn't the way it's going to be. So here you got a whole section on more available space, which was what I was asking. Any of these
oh
can be
yeah,
converted into city parks and housing, so parking garages, parking
yeah,
lots, gas stations, bus stations. I love it.
yeah, yeah. it's not a complete document, but it was enough for me to build conviction, right?
How many autonomous cars will we need? Do you remember this at all? I know it's been a long time, but let's read through it.
A lot less cars than, because right now, as the title of the document says, cars are only used 4% of the time.
80%.
96% of the time, they're parked somewhere. They're parked at your house, in your garage, on the street, in the parking lot, at your company. They're the most underutilized, expensive assets in the world. And if you were to own a business, for example, that was only 4% efficient, you would go bankrupt. You go BK. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So this was, I felt like, one of the largest opportunities for disruption was this asset, which is rarely used. And I thought, so that means that, we have, I don't know, 2 billion internal combustion engines in the world. I don't know how many of those are actual vehicles, right? Some of them are in machinery and things like that. But we have a lot of cars, right? And most of those cars, I think if we were just to snap of the finger, replace them all with autonomous EVs, there would be far less vehicles, because these vehicles would have much higher utilization than the 4% that we currently have.
Yeah, there are some people who still don't believe it. They think that autonomous cars is actually going to create more traffic, more cars, and we need to really think this through. And you've started to do that, and collect the information, the research.
It really depends on the implementation, the rollout, how there's going to be a lot of algorithms for fleet, managing the fleet of these vehicles, where to send the vehicles, make sure the vehicles are at the right place at the right time, and so that a lot of it just depends. If you're talking about Cruise, Cruise is already jamming up the streets of San Francisco.
That's right.
They're doing tweets about that
yesterday.
Omar was tweeting. It's just so I mean, if we were to replace all cars right now with Cruise vehicles, it would be a disaster. But so it just depends, right? And this will gradually roll out, right? I think that there'll be plenty of time to kind of ensure that there's less congestion on the roads. I think that it'll happen kind of. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to. I don't think there'll be too much more congestion, but I could be wrong.
All right, let's very quickly just review the list of disrupted markets. I think this is obviously a huge one, because this shows the reason why Tesla has so many enemies, but it also shows the tremendous amount. So global oil industry, we got that. Traditional automakers, gas stations, car dealers, car repairs, car rental, body shops, car maintenance, tow trucks, personal injury attorneys.
Warren's
out of. He's already out of job. Car insurance, claims adjusters, car financing, car parking. I love this. Paid drivers, taxi services, real estate. I mean, public transportation, police, medical industry, and I bet you there's probably more. This is brilliant. Jason, this is amazing. Yeah.
Thank you. It's kind of wish I'd finished it now. It's like, maybe I could just pick up where I left off. Yeah, Dave Lee was wanting to see if I could finish it too, I think. But,
I think you should finish it. It's like you should write a book, like I said, because I do think that it's I think it's important what you're doing, and I just don't know anyone else is doing it as deep as you are. And you can see that you have lots of space you can still fill in, but there's so much.
Yeah. But it's like I kind of want to look forward now, and that's why I'm focusing on, it's like, should I finish that document, which is already kind of manifesting right now with FSD, and
right,
or look forward and just kind of like start to think more about Tesla Bot, which is probably at least 5 years out for having any kind of real like a big impact, right? So I think I guess you just showed it on the screen, but the next document I'm writing is the Tesla Bot. I think I wrote that previous document you showed. I wrote it in 2015, and it took 7 years for that to really. We're in 2022 right now. It took 5 to 7 years for some of the things in that document to be fully kind of realized by the market, right? And I think it's going to take another 5 to 7 years for people to understand, for anyone to assign value to the robot, right? It's going to be a while.
So I was explaining the story earlier that you were a regular software guy working at a regular job, although big companies,
Yeah,
Google, Amazon, you discovered Tesla, you got hooked with it like many of us, and you did this deep dive, and then you invested and you invested big. And we remember what happened 2018, 19, 20. You held on. You held on
right.
as much as you could. But then you got lucky. We all got lucky. Lucky, let's use the word lucky,
Yeah,
even though it really isn't luck. And,
yeah.
I
No,
guess
there's
there
definitely
is.
luck involved. Yeah,
Yeah. But it happened, right? The
yeah,
conviction translated into a investment. And you also, what's happening to many bulls right now, the stock fell, the company was about to die. You kept buying and you kept holding on. Then the year comes 2020 and it shoots up. You get
yeah,
so rich at 39 years old, you get to retire. So the reason I'm rehashing all this is because today you could, just like Elon, you could be at the beach sipping Mai
yeah,
Tais and just sit quietly, but you're not. You are still all in on Tesla. You are still you're looking at exactly the same scenario right now, right? With the bot coming. So can you tell me about what's going on in your head and why you feel this way when you've already made it? You know?
yeah. I mean, for me, it's just really exciting, right? It's very, I love seeing this company innovate. I love seeing uh, Elon kind of do his thing, and uh, I mean, I could go to the beach and chill. I've done that a little bit. I've retired about 2 years ago, and I've had some trips and vacations, and that's fun. But you can't, you know, um, can't do that forever. I am kind of trying to figure out what my next thing is. It's been 2 years
Yeah.
since I retired, and I've been kind of like doing a lot of reading and working out. And But yeah, I mean, I think the I'm really curious about kind of what's happening with AI. I've been following that, and then also the Tesla robot. So it's kind of I'd rather just spend my time learning, doing research, and tweeting stuff that I find. That to me is fun, right? I enjoy that. Um, I have enough money, like my by the way, like holding on with just the last 2 years has been kind of crazy because I retired with about
Yeah.
12 million.
Yeah.
Um, and then I went up to about 18 million at the
Yeah.
peak, I think sometime last year.
Yeah.
Just continue to hold whatever. And now I'm back down to like 8 million, right? So it's like
Yeah.
12, 18, 8, it's all over the place. But, that's all of that is a lot of money. Like 18 million is a lot, 12 million, 8 million is a lot. Like
Yeah.
there's only so much money that I need, really. My
Yeah.
life isn't that crazy. I'm not spending on Lamborghinis or
Yeah.
doing a lot. I'm not spending a lot of money. So I think as long as you don't need the money, you're not going to have any stress. And if you have
Yeah.
conviction in the company, you can just hold. And I don't really have any stress, right? I mean, um, that's, you know, that's kind of where I'm at, right? I don't really worry about the stock price. For me personally, the Tesla is getting more and more valuable every day, right? So every day it's worth a lot more in my view, or a little bit more. It's worth a little bit more every day. The real intrinsic value of the company is what I care about, not what you know people think it's worth, right? Which is the stock price. It's like at any given time, uh, the stock price is reflecting what the market of buyers and sellers kind of value it at, which is not true to the intrinsic value of the company. So
Yeah. So you still have tremendous conviction in Tesla and you're still going to
yeah,
stay all in. What is your thinking in your head? 2030, never sell. What's keeping you, what makes you decide to continue doing what you're doing like right now? Like I said, even you've already made
yeah,
your big move.
yeah. I mean, I just don't see where else I would put my money, to be honest. It's kind of like
What?
Chamath said this, I think last year, a couple of years
Hmm.
ago, but
Hmm.
he did end up selling, which is kind of weird. But you know, I just enjoy holding Tesla stock. I enjoy being a Tesla investor, and uh, you know, yeah, it's just a personal thing, right? Like I can do it. Not a lot of people can do that. I just I
No, but my point is
there's
you
really,
have so
yeah.
much, but yet you're keeping it in there. Like
I'm not
Koguan,
diversifying, right? I'm
Leo
not,
Koguan as well. Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah. Well, here's the thing. I just see that Tesla has so much growth ahead of it. This is why
yeah,
Tesla has an insane amount of growth ahead of it. There's 2 billion internal combustion engines in the world. Tesla sold 1 million cars last year, right? Like
yeah,
1 million to 2 billion. Like there's a lot of drivetrains that need to be replaced, not just vehicles, but all kinds of machinery and things. I mean, there's a lot of products that Tesla's going to be building out.
yeah,
Right now, we're just talking about cars and trucks. There's so many vehicles that can be
yeah,
produced, and Tesla won't make all these vehicles, but they'll provide drivetrains. The batteries, the motors. They'll
yeah,
provide autonomous driving technology, FSD. They'll license that out. It's going to be winner
yeah,
take all. FSD. I'm sorry, it's just winner take all. Like you're not going to want to get a ride in a Robotaxi that's like 10% as safe as a Tesla, right? Or has,
yeah.
like you want to, people are going to decide to ride in the safest cars in the world, and those will be Teslas. They have way more. They're so far ahead of the competition, and they just. I don't think anybody's going to be able to catch up. I really don't. And I think that at some point, um, you know, people are just going to have to license the technology. So Tesla's going to have a lot of revenue streams in the future, and that's where the growth is. People still think Tesla's a car company in 2022. We're almost in 2023, and people still think it's a car company. It's just insane, right? Like
Yeah.
there's a yeah, I mean, there's just so many opportunities for growth. It'll just make your head spin. Like so, I mean, sure, I could sell some stock and whatever, but that's boring, right? I love holding Tesla stock. I love following the company closely and interacting with all the other Tesla investors on Twitter. And it's exciting, right? So
That's exciting. I mean, I love the way you describe that it's not just cars, it's drivetrains, it's motors, it's the batteries. And what I remind people, or I remind myself, was 2 years ago, nobody in Tesla or none of us were talking about bots. None of us
yeah,
were talking about mining. And here we are.
yeah. No,
So,
it's like every year people think, okay, Tesla's announced these products. They're just going to execute with this product roadmap for the next decade. No, like
right.
every year they're going to come out with new products, like like new things, and it's going to accelerate. They're going to have more and more things to work on. I just, I mean, of all the products Tesla will create in the next 10, 20 years, we're probably only at like at most 5% of them. Like
Agreed.
they're gonna have so many products.
If,
And also what they're really
yeah,
working on is manufacturing uh,
yeah,
design, right? Manufacturing design, like designing their factories to be efficient. That itself is a product, and people don't really outside of the Tesla Twitter investing community, people don't talk about how good Tesla is at manufacturing. We have 30% margins on their cars, and I think eventually we'll get to 50% or more, right? And that's like an iPhone profit margin, right? It's mind-boggling. I mean, right now, what's a lot of traditional auto companies get 5%. Even today, with their new EVs, they're still only getting 5% margins, right? Or a lot of them aren't even profitable yet. But that will go up over time as they sell more vehicles. But they're going to have to compete with Tesla. It's not easy, right? Tesla is literally pouring cars with with their casting machines, right? They're not stopping with their innovation and manufacturing, and so that's another thing
all
that's
right.
really
So
cool.
combine the factories along with the bots, then you can produce anything. And then if you got the minerals, the
Yeah, you can.
manufacturing.
That's the takeaway. If you're so good at manufacturing, you're so efficient at it, you can start to produce all kinds of stuff, right? You can. I mean, yeah, like they can. It'll be easier for them to build new products and scale new products in the future because of their manufacturing expertise. And
And they're doing
that's
it now,
amazing.
right? They're making all these
Yeah,
parts that the rockets need, that the cars need. They're making their own
yeah,
seats. They can make anything. They can make a glove box, whatever
right.
they need to make. I
Yeah,
think they're
yep.
going to do 3D printing at some point, right? It's like, or they're
Mhm.
maybe already doing it now. Stamping
Yeah, that's
plus
why
3D
Apple
printing.
in the future they're gonna be like, thank God we partnered with Tesla, right? Like literally, thank God Tim Cook was smart enough, or
Oh, wait,
like to partner with Tesla.
you're talking about Tesla making the phones instead of Foxconn or somebody else?
No, I'm just saying, in the future, 5, 10 years from now, maybe 10 years from now, people will look back on Tim Cook willing to work with Elon as a
Yeah.
brilliant move. Like it'll be like it'll kind of it'll compensate for the decision not to buy a Tesla or not to at least
Yeah.
have a large stake in Tesla in 2018, right? Like it or whenever
Yeah.
that was. Um, I think it's very wise for Tim Cook to want to work with Elon. Very well. Like it's not
Ro-
apparent now. It's not apparent now, but trust me, like 10 years, it'll be like, wow, like that was a genius move by Tim Cook. But I don't know. Like we don't know really what happened today with Tim and Elon. We'll learn more about it, but I hope that they can kind of work together more. Yeah,
Let's switch to the bot. So you said that you're so excited. You think that Tesla is just at the very beginning. And then when did you, obviously, we all got excited with the bots. So you says here September 24th. So just a few months ago, and you started. I know this is not complete, and I begged you to let me share a little bit of it. So thank you for doing that. But it looks like that you've got, you look at it from the global economic impact of Tesla bot. I love how you start with that. Humans against Tesla bots, and you can examine that a bit. The deflationary effects of Tesla bots. We really needed that this year. Um, I'm curious why you came up with
for
the custom
reals.
actuators as why that's a critical part. Jobs that no humans will do. And I'm sure you probably have something disrupted industries. Yeah, that's going to be a major long list. The App Store. Wow. So maybe we can go through a few of these.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
let's go through this. So introduction, you said that you wrote the 2015 on the paper we just looked at. And then you got interested in Tesla bot, basic information of what we know so far about the Tesla bot.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this, the long-term global economic impact of Tesla bot.
Yeah. So, you know, Elon talks about this. He talked about it on AI Day Part Two, and it's really, he actually asks, what is the economy like? What is it made up of? It's made up of people who do work, useful work, and there's only a limited number of these people on Earth, right? There's I think 8 billion people. It's a lot of people, and they all contribute, or not all of them, but the employed people contribute to what we call GDP, and there's like world GDP, the amount of goods and services produced by everyone on Earth, basically, and it's kind of a function of like partially a function of that number, the GDP is kind of heavily dependent on how many people are working, right? So, and then it's capped by that too, right? So, um, if an AI humanoid robot um, is developed, it could actually kind of remove that cap because you have these advanced robots that can essentially it can replace a lot of human labor, a lot of human work. But that's going to take a long time, right? Like right now, I think just for a job, like for example, a mechanic who makes $35,000 a year in California or something, like an auto mechanic, that would be really hard for a robot to do. If you just take your car to the shop, an internal combustion car or something, and they have to replace something, there's a lot of like our hands are amazing. They can do a lot of very subtle things, and uh, you know, I think that's going to be really difficult for robots to do. It'll take a long time for a robot to be able to replace just an auto mechanic who doesn't make that much per year. So there's some huge challenges. It's a little daunting, right? But I think, but this issue about the economy, I mean, it's pretty fascinating when you just think about where this could go, right? Where we could basically remove the cap on GDP. And then there's essentially there could be an infinite supply of these robots in the future, and essentially infinite wealth, right? If uh, you know, think about how much work is involved in creating a new person, right? Like people have to get together, you got to give birth, and it takes years and years for someone to be able, for that human to be able
That's
to
a good
read
point.
and write, and 18 years of schooling at least, usually, for someone to be useful, right? It takes at least, 18 years, right? Or something. It takes a long time for a human being to actually say, I'm ready, I can start to contribute and do useful work. Whereas a robot, as soon as it walks off the factory line, it could like start doing work. And it might not take that long to manufacture these robots, right? A few hours, right? So And also they would learn. They don't have to relearn everything. Every human being has to relearn how to read and write and do math and type, write code. We all have to it's very slow, right? Whereas a robot would immediately, know how to do that stuff, right? So it's important to think big about this, right? Like there's really no, you have to be a little bit creative to imagine what this could end up, how this could end up. Yeah.
I love the way that you brought up the how long it takes to make a human versus a robot. I personally haven't even thought of this, and I think I'm a bot expert, a bot enthusiast.
I think very differently. I mean, there are people that think like me, but I'm like, for example, I think of Tesla ownership. I talk about this on Dave Lee's.
Right.
Like, I don't think about number of shares or how much money you own. I think about the minutes of production per year that you own of Tesla production, right? Like that's just a different way of looking at it. I kind of look at things at a really different angle, which helps me value things kind of more accurately, I think, or in the long run, right?
So the potential for the Tesla bot, as many of us Tesla bulls are very, we can see it, we can hear it, you've documented quite a bit of the stats here. If it works, it's gonna be beyond anything we've ever could even imagine, right? Like a product, because this is the product of a bot is something that can make other products.
Yeah. This could be the largest market in the world or in the universe, right? They're going to be the largest. Like there will be no, there's no cap. Like there's an unlimited demand for these robots, essentially, unlimited, right? Like there's no limit. Everybody, every household, every business will want more than one, right? Possibly a lot more than one, right? If you look at the raw materials in these things, like Tesla was promising, I think like a $20,000 vehicle at one point, or $25,000 vehicle, and that has a lot of raw materials in it. A car has a lot of raw materials, a lot of battery materials and aluminum and steel and rubber and leather. There's a lot of materials that goes into that vehicle, and they can still sell it at $20,000 to $25,000. And so they have to, if they're going to sell it that much, they'll be able to produce it at ideally lower than that, right? Less than $20,000. And if we're talking about a robot, like a humanoid robot, it takes far less. There's far less raw materials in a robot than there is a vehicle. So they'll be able to produce these for a lot less than 20,000. I think the margins just on selling the robot will be really, really high. And then on top of that, there could be like an app store where the robot, you could unlock, different kind of features of the robot, like it can cook certain foods, or it can do gardening, or it can do security really well. There'll be like an app store, and you'll just pay. You'll have a subscription-based model, and you can, there'll be huge revenue from that as well. So yeah, it's just going to be, there's going to be so much money to be made from this robot. It's nuts. But it's not going to be easy. I think that we may be a little bit too optimistic. I may be a little bit too optimistic in the short term. I think the robot and all the actuators and just the hardware, like everything will be available before the brain is ready. I think, I could be wrong, but I think that the AI, the real world AI for the robot, will be a very huge challenge, right? It'll be much more difficult than the actual physical robot and the hardware and mechanics of the robot.
Sure. But I think that there's going to be the simplest actions can already create significant value.
Yeah.
That my joke is, and it's not a good one, but my example would be that I'm going to teach my robot how to fold napkins, and then I'm going to have it create napkins for me, and I'm going to sell those napkins, and I'm going to make more money than I spent on the bot. But napkins is hard because you might not be able to do napkins, but I'm saying, like something like that, right?
Yeah. Imagine the bot learning from millions or not the bot, the neural nets that go into these bots, learning from billions of hours of video, like just cooking videos on YouTube, and just learning how to cook based on watching tons of video data. like it doesn't have to, like these bots don't have to be taught by a human to do these things. Like if you want to open your refrigerator and take out some ingredients, you don't need to like, you know, calibrate the robot and take the robot hand and have it open the handle, and like you don't need to basically do any of that. You basically just the robots will learn so much from information that's available on the internet, that they can learn all their physical movements possibly just by watching videos of people doing things. So they'll be able to watch videos of people, say replacing the wheels on their car or something like that. And they'll just watch so many of these videos. You get enough data and you show it. It'll know what a car is. It'll know what a wheel is. It'll know what a jack is. Like it'll be able to jack up the car. And it'll just, maybe on the first go, it can go and do pretty well on its first attempt. And then, I think basically these robots can learn from video data, which is, would be fascinating.
That's what I was asking. Yeah.
Right?
Do you think just video data is enough versus needing us to be wearing AR glasses?
I mean, we could use a combination of both, right? I think maybe, I don't know. I'm not an expert. I'm really not an expert. I'm just an investor. Like I'm literally just looking at this. I mean, I was an engineer in the past, but I think that that's a question for some people and who do computer vision or robotics people. Actually, I don't think the robotics people think big enough. One thing I've noticed is that a lot of the interviews that I've seen with robotics people covering AI Day, they don't think big at all. They're analytical thinkers. They're not necessarily systems thinkers, which think big picture. They don't see potential. They're so limited in their expertise. They're not limited. They can go deep, but they can't go broad, right? So they don't really see where this is going. Just like not a lot of them don't see it. They'll focus on like some really small detail and talk for an hour about it. Whereas like literally, like I think the best people that can see the future here, a lot of them are just investors, right? Like they can actually because a lot of us have maybe bigger imaginations. Maybe we're a little bit naive, a little bit too optimistic, but if you look in the past, it helps to be optimistic. I mean, if you look at New York Times, they published an article saying that no human being would ever fly in a million years, and something like that, a million years, 1,000 years. And then just like the next year, 2 years later, the Wright brothers took flight, right? Like, I mean, we should be a little bit more optimistic. And investors by nature are optimistic, right? So we can actually predict the future pretty well. And sometimes specialists, experts don't really, they can't see the future because they just don't, So anyways, roboticists, I don't think are the best people to predict the future of kind of what this is going to be. And then, but nobody knows. I mean, this could be Elon's first failure, right? Sure. Like that could happen too. He hasn't really failed in many things. There are I can think of a few examples where he promised something with Tesla and it maybe didn't happen, like swappable battery packs, or there's a robotic arm that was supposed to charge your car. Like there are a few failed projects, or the Model 3, the first iteration of the Model 3 line, that was kind of a failure. He's had some failures, right? Blew up some rockets. Like he's failed at things, but nothing so big. Like for example, what's happening with Zuckerberg and Meta, like that could be a huge failure. Elon hasn't had. I mean, I don't know. Like maybe it's not too late for them, but Elon hasn't had a catastrophic failure like that yet. It can happen. I'm hopeful that it won't happen, but the Tesla robot could potentially be that. It's such an ambitious project, and it's not inevitable. It's not something that it is inevitable. It will happen at some point, but I hope it's Tesla that does it first. I wouldn't want this. I wouldn't want an AI robot to be developed by Zuckerberg, right? Or Amazon. I just don't. I don't think that they're the best. They have, the best interests of people in mind. I think they're too. I just don't think they have what it takes to do this and earn people's trust, right?
Yeah. So yeah, very good points. I mean, who has the ability to guess, to kind of forecast which is more right, time frame wise? We know the current meme that Elon is always late, but he's also been right many, many times, right? That there is Model 3, Model Y, Model X. They're out there. You have a reusable rocket that's rapidly deployed every week now. Yes, there's no boring tunnels. We have the Cybertruck hasn't been launched yet, but the semi's now here. I mean, like there's always all these winners. And then the thing about the bot, though, is I know you and a bunch of people, you just said it, and I guess I have to be a little bit more pessimistic. But yes, it is not a done deal. But there's no other company that's ever got the greatest leg up in terms of
Yeah.
already having manufacturing facilities in place, already having
Yeah.
some work with neural nets and
hmm
large deep
Yeah, they're
supercomputers.
perfectly positioned. They're
Yeah.
perfectly positioned to develop an AI humanoid robot. I saw this a long time ago. A lot of us did, right? They are they're the best at producing batteries at scale, or they will be soon with 4680s. 4680s. Tesla has a lot of battery experts, right? They also are really good at producing their own custom alloys, like custom kind of aluminum alloys. They use it with SpaceX and Tesla. They're using for their gigacasting. So just anything with metals and metallurgy, I guess they're great. They have amazing material science people, and robots are made up of these materials. So they need to be super strong, lightweight, durable, right? So Tesla is perfect for that. Also for power management and kind of high voltage and low voltage electronics. So power electronics, like things that will drive motors and high voltage applications that are used all in Tesla vehicles, and also low voltage stuff like what's happening with chip development and Dojo and any of the kind of microchips that Tesla wrote their own kind of firmware during the chip shortage, right? That's incredible. They have talent that can work with low voltage and chips and develop custom chips. So they're perfect for that, both low voltage, high voltage, cooling. They do a lot of cooling for their batteries and also heat management. They what else? Like manufacturing. Everyone knows they're really good at that. AI, they're the best in my opinion. Real world AI, which will be used for the robots. Design. I mean, they know how to create things that somewhat are appealing. You've looked at other humanoid robots and they look terrible, and some of them look pretty scary, right? Like that you wouldn't want to put that in your home. But um, and what
Yeah, a
is
couple
there?
of ideas I have is they have a built-in customer base immediately.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
SpaceX will and Tesla will be the first to order 10,000 robots.
hmm
And you know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like there's
exactly.
already a use
There's
case
already
that they would
demand. Yeah,
demand
they'll
for
be
it.
able to bootstrap. Exactly, they'll be able to
Um,
bootstrap demand, just as you say, um, for the robots. Can you hear me? Okay. I don't know if
yep,
the.
yep,
All right,
it's
cool.
fine. And
Um,
yeah,
yeah, I mean the just like the when we first developed microchips in the 1960s, it was the defense industry and
right.
missiles that developed Minuteman missiles and stuff. That created the initial demand for the microchips that were developed by Texas Instruments and other American chip makers. You need to have an initial market, and initially for a lot of technologies that we use today in our computers and laptops, the initial customer was for
Yeah.
military applications. So any kind of new technology that's very disruptive needs an initial kind of seed market to be able to generate demand, and so you can produce enough, you can lower the cost, and then it's available to consumers. So that's kind of something that Tesla will do with the robots. Tesla will first create that demand in their factories. They're going to use these robots in the factories first, and then eventually make them available in homes. But it'll be a while before they're available in homes. They'll be doing a lot of factory work long before they're available
That's what I
in
say too. But
households.
some
Probably,
people
yeah.
think that it's going to be in homes in a couple of years, and no,
No,
I
no,
don't think so. Tell me
no.
about the this one here. We're not going to be able to go through every single one of these things, but it's so fascinating. Cost profitability of Tesla bots. You compare it to the human worker. Let's walk me through this and why this would make so much sense financially.
Oh yeah. So this is just kind of napkin math, and so basically, workers are limited by the number of hours they can work in a week, um, and we can work. Most people can barely work 40 hours a week, right? It's hard, right? Going to work every day, and
Yeah,
you can have all kinds of you're tired, maybe you didn't sleep well, or you're getting into a fight with your wife or girlfriend or something like
yeah,
that. It's just people aren't always present at work, so they're getting. I don't even think the average worker works 40 hours a week in the
correct.
West anymore. I think if you're talking about China or something like that, yes, they work a lot more. But so 40 hours a week for a human, and we have to sleep, we have to eat, we have to go to the bathroom, we have a lot of needs, right? And so a robot doesn't need any of that. They don't need to sleep. They need to charge, right? But charging can happen very quickly, or you can do a battery pack swap or something like that. So you can just say the charging time could be 0, right? Like if they do a battery swap. In reality, a robot can work, the full number of hours in a week, say 168 hours in a week. You can just say 160 hours a week, right? Because there might be need some time for maintenance, repairs, or you can include some charging time in there. So just say a robot can work 4 times the number of hours per week that a human can. Human works 40 hours, robot works 160 hours. Say a human gets paid $35,000 a year. The robot, if you were to give it a salary, you could also make $35,000 a year. But in effect, it's doing 4 times the amount of work that a human does for that same salary. So it could be valued as, 4 times that 35. It could be valued as 4 employees, right? If it's working 4 times. So 4 times 35,000 would be, $140,000. Would be the equivalent salary for 4 workers working 40 hours a week. But you only have 1 robot; it's working 4 times as much per week. So but you could buy it from Tesla for $20,000 at most, right? Eventually, it's going to be a lot cheaper. So the economics are just kind of insane, just based on that, right? I mean, there's so many jobs that are very, very low skill, right? If you've done, you drive through a toll booth at you're getting onto a bridge or something. There's someone that literally just can look at cash, can give you cash or just waves at you or something. Or there's people that work as security. I'm not saying that a robot could replace a security guard, but there are a lot of jobs that are kind of low hanging fruit, right? And so, and those people do need to make a living wage, right? And so I'm not saying we should replace all these people. I think that everyone should have some kind of meaningful work to do, but I think they would rather do something else than stand in front of the building all day, right? There's a lot of jobs that a robot can do very, very efficiently. And then, so that's.
Well, let's explore that topic, because I know that my wife is that's where she goes right off the bat. Is this good? Is this good for society? She was warning me about Facebook and social media back then, and she turned out to be correct. Because I'm a pro tech person, right? So I'm always like, oh my God, this new tech's coming and it's going to be amazing. And is that good for society? She turned out to be right about social media.
No, it depends. And I think social media has been bad. A lot of it has been bad for society because of the rollout, because of the implementation. I don't think Mark Zuckerberg has helped society at all. I think it's been bad. I think it's been horrible, right? So I think it really, but social media could have been have a lot more positive impact. I think if people weren't so incentivized to take selfies when they're in front of a dangerous animal or something. There's a lot of Charlie Munger would say, if you show me the incentive and I'll show you the outcome. The incentives need to be right for something to have a positive outcome. So I think the incentives that were designed in a lot of these social media apps were just not good, right? And I think it just really depends. It could go horribly wrong, right? Or it could be incredible. It could be amazing. It just depends. There's no easy answer to that question, right? And I'm optimistic. I think it will be good because I believe that Elon is he thinks very in a long time horizon, and he's very wise, right? In terms of, sure, he has tantrums. He'll tweet stuff that looks somewhat. He could behave a little better, right? But I think if you look at it long term, he does really want the best outcome for humanity, right? And he's not financially motivated, right? I don't think he is, right? He's not. He lives in a shack, he lives in I think a $10,000 prefab home in Texas. He grinds, as his ex-girlfriend used to say, that he basically lives below the poverty line. This guy does not enjoy the finer things in life. He literally is just so focused on work. He has no time to hang out on a yacht, to enjoy fine wines, he's not financially motivated. He has enough money. All he cares about is building what he's building, right? He cares about So I think Elon is the perfect human being really to do this. And I worry about his health. I worry that something could happen to him, and then this project could be taken up by some Chinese company or something like, or
Yeah, the
some,
wrong incentives. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
wrong incentives, right? I think it's really important that Elon finishes this, right, and at least develops a humanoid robot. So
Before we move on, because that's such a powerful statement you just made, right? If the right incentives are in place, then the rollout of robots could actually be great for society. I'm still very positive and optimistic that I think that humans don't need to be doing dangerous, repetitive, boring jobs. That's
yeah,
not a job
yeah,
that they should be doing. Nobody's going to miss
right,
being a miner, but you know, but this allows them to do things more creative. And then the question is, are they so bored that having something to do is better than having a purpose? But I think things
right.
will turn out for the better. So what do you think is going to happen with the one area that I'm quite interested in is the app store, the skills that Tesla bots will be able to do, and how do you see that coming about? Are they gonna sell you a skill? So I need my bot to sew me a sweater, pay
Mhm.
me $8.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of low-hanging fruit, right? Like if you've ever worked in a workshop, I grew up in a shop. My dad was a machinist, and by the end of the weekend, we had like tools everywhere. Like we weren't always super disciplined about putting the tools away, and that was my job. And my brother's job, we would like put tools away, right? And it took a long time. It was a pain, right? You had to know where everything goes. So just a robot that could just like find your tools and just clean up your shop would be amazing. People would pay a lot of money for that because you spend so much time
Yeah.
just cleaning, picking things up, and you pick up a wrench. You recognize it's a wrench. You know how heavy it is. You know how to hold it, and you pick it up and you move, and you know where it goes, right? You know where the wrench goes because the robot took a photograph or an image of your workshop before it was a mess. That would be relatively easy. I mean, easier than other things that the robot would do, like repairing a vehicle or something like
Mhm.
that. But I think just cleanup duties, security duties, like something that just stands in front of a building and observes things. It just doesn't have to move. It could just sit there and it could talk to people. It can help people. It could be in some mall or building, and if somebody has a question, it can answer the question. And there's just so many low hanging fruit applications. But eventually, I think that having a robot that can cook for you would be great. Like, because I don't really enjoy cooking all that much. Um, but I think having a robot that can like order the ingredients that are necessary for the dish that you
Mm,
want to cook that night,
sure.
it could order the ingredients. It could answer the door, and you know, um, you know, get it can order the ingredients, and then you can have an Instacart delivery to your door with all those ingredients, or you're shopping for the week. You can take those bags to your kitchen, put all the ingredients and kitchen items where they need to be, and then it can just start cooking. Right? It can use those to it can mix ingredients, or it doesn't have to cook everything. It can at least just take out all the things you want for all of the items that you need to cook your dish. It
Yeah.
can even do some mixing, something like that. Maybe it just doesn't use the stovetop initially. I don't know, but it could just having something that would help in the kitchen would be great. And the cleaning, obviously, cleaning your house. It can do cleaning at nighttime when you're asleep, um, or and then during the daytime, it could just be it could cook or it could clean, or it could do your laundry or something like that. Laundry is something I might be able to do. Just take items out of a laundry basket, put them in the washer dryer. I
So
don't
I
know
saw
about
that
folding.
you're
Yeah.
foreseeing an app store, right? I want to become a bot app
Oh
store,
yeah.
a
Yeah.
skill marketplace.
Yeah, an app store. It'll be a marketplace for skills. Absolutely, I think that's what they'll do. Um, and I mean, because there's going to be more and more skills that are developed over time. It'll be more and more advanced. So yeah,
I mean,
I still
having
have to
a
think through all
yeah,
these use cases, but there's a
yeah,
lot. I mean, anything a
yeah,
human can do physically, ideally, the robot would also be able to do.
yeah.
Um,
Teach one, and then everybody has that. And then I'm sure
yeah,
if Elon is good, if this is his
yeah,
objective, he can give away, just like in Tesla, being safety is the priority. And
Yeah.
that's not only given away to all Teslas, it gives that away to all cars. And then the
Right.
same thing can happen with the bot, but then the special skills he can charge extra for and then make money that
Yeah.
way.
I mean, it could do something. One low hanging fruit is like, "Hey, robot, where's my phone?" Like so many people lose. There are people that lose their phones like every day. Like,
Sure.
there's like imagine it knows where your phone is because it's kind of connected to it. And it can just be
Sure.
like, "I got it. It'll go upstairs, get it for you."
Then you're
I
going to
don't
become
know. Like,
lazy. I don't like that one, but
yeah,
yeah.
it's like there you go. Then you'll just have no incentive to like track your phone. It will make us way lazier, which is another social impact. It's yeah. There's going to be some definite. It'll change things a lot eventually. Yeah.
So what's your time frame? What do you think? And you said earlier that you think that this is, you might be a little early. You said that 7 years was kind of the time frame you want to invest in a company. Then you said that this particular is a shot in the dark. The bot could be a fool's errand. What's your guesstimate? What's your time frame that you think something's useful will come out? Something that's commercially available, useful skill that will start making Tesla money that will impact the stock specifically. Any guesses in there?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be at least like maybe 2 years before Tesla's using this
Right?
in their own factories in
Yep.
a useful way. Like right now, they already have I think one demo robot that's doing some very easy kind of conveyance or moving at one part from one part of the shop floor to another.
Mhm.
I mean that's kind of like not really that useful. They're just demonstrating that it can be used in the factory, but
Mhm.
for it to actually do something um, dangerous, boring, or I forget the other one is like
Repetitive.
repetitive. Uh, I think it's going to be a couple of years before before that's available, and then
Mhm.
maybe 2 years before it's available in the factory, and then after that they'll probably uh, maybe sell it to other businesses. I think initially it'll be kind of business to business, like it'll be used in factory settings, kind of like a factory bot. And I think the first customers will be other factories or other manufacturing facilities, um, and then maybe that'll be 3 years from now, and then maybe another few years before we can sell it to businesses where it's seen by customers, like maybe not available in the household, but maybe you'll see them as standing in front of buildings as security or in shopping malls or something like that. But it won't be available in the homes yet. It'll just be people will start to see them out there, right?
Yeah.
That would be maybe 4 years out, and then for it to be available in a household, I'm a little bit like I think there's a lot of work to do. Like
Yeah.
it could be anywhere from 5 years to
10
10 years.
years. Agreed.
Yeah, it can be there's a lot of work to be done. I've talked to people on Twitter Spaces and Clubhouse that say they're looking, they think be available next year. I'm like, no,
No, no,
no,
no.
like there's no way. Like it's
No.
just,
No, no.
I mean, uh, I would love that, but no.
Wow. Well, this is a very momentous, I think, a milestone. I can't wait till the day that, tomorrow Tesla's going to distribute or deliver the first semi trucks to commercial partners, Pepsi and others. There's going to be a day that we're going to go to an event just like this, but it's the bot being delivered to the first factory commercial partners or customers for the bot. But the bot is arguably the most important, most impressive, most impactful, consequential product that's possibly ever made in humanity history.
Yeah,
Arguably, I
exactly.
mean, maybe the genetics, maybe the neural links, those kind of far out thinking, but
Mhm.
that's another one. Neuralink, the ability to do
Yeah,
mind communication, if
yeah,
that even
I-
happens, it's crazy.
right. Yeah, absolutely. Neuralink, I feel like has a long way.
Sure.
That's also another kind of moonshot. I think it'll happen eventually, but it's it's so ambitious, and I don't know. I'm a little bit skeptical of how soon that'll be available to just regular people. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I think
Yeah.
once the Neuralink team, kind of shifts away from being very demo focused, right? They're probably very demo focused. They know when Elon expects them to demo, and they're doing everything they can to kind of hit it out of the park when they demo it. Like there's no real product, there's no real focus on having generating revenue from this. It's just way too early. So I think once the focus shifts towards actually developing the product and selling it and having developing the business side of it, I think that would be a good time to invest. But and it's not a public company yet, so
yeah.
But it's just Neuralink is, man, that's a tough one. Like out of all Elon's companies, I'd say that has the longest horizon. Where it's exciting, but it could take a long time. Like boring company, yes. Like SpaceX, yes. Tesla, yes.
SpaceX, yes. Go to Mars,
take my money. Like take my money, right? Yeah, go to Mars. Like I'll invest in these companies to get a return at some point. I can see the path, right? But with Neuralink, it's just
gotcha.
I mean,
guess what time it is right now? Right? It is 6 o'clock on Wednesday. The Neuralink presentation's starting now. But thank you so much, Jason, for spending time with me. This was very special. You went down, and I know I didn't share all of it. You will one day release these documents, and specifically the Tesla bot as you find more time to work on it. But you are doing deep dives. You have done comprehensive analysis. You've already shared with me today even things I wasn't thinking of. It's very complete. And I love the way that you make your investments this way. That's why many of us are doing these videos and we're watching these videos, because we ourselves are trying to educate ourselves. But Tesla is an amazing company. You luckily were able to make money from it. I'm sure all of us are going to make money on it. Not investment advice, but that's why we're here.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier, right? The Tesla bot, autonomous driving, Neuralink, all these ideas are just incredible to society, to humans, humanity, and we're part of it. So thank you so much, Jason. People can follow him at Jason DeBolt on Twitter, and he's going to eventually release these documents. And so you'll want to stay close to all of his information. And if you think that you got a little bit brighter today, please follow and subscribe to this channel. I'm going to be interviewing even more people just like Jason. So thanks, everybody. Thanks again, Jason.
Cool.
Talk to you soon.
Bye, everyone. Thanks, Herbert. So